62 and 16, blue states and Roth options, all on today's Fednobabble.
This is Fednobabble, where Kevin and Cassie make federal retirement benefits understandable for humans like you. These two don't hold back as they answer questions from the Fed Pilot workshops and webinars, or from questions submitted by you at fednobabble.com.
Hello, Cassie.
Hello. Oh. Hi. All right. So what's the first question today, Kevin?
Here we go.
So at age 62, with 16 years, I should be good to retire? I sure hope so.
That's a classic answer. I hope you are. But it's not always that way, though, right? I mean, I hate to say it.
Not always.
Not always. But so, yeah. So the answer is yes. Whether you're a FERS employee or a SERS employee. Okay. Are you good to retire? That's a mental thing, I think, right? I don't know your mental state. I don't know what it is. What are you thinking? But as far as fully retiring, either SERS or FERS, if you're 62, you can retire with 5 years and be okay. Fully retire. Now, when I say fully retire, Cassie, when you and I say fully retire, some people get the impression that I get as much money as someone who has worked 30 years because that's full retirement. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone say that before, but no, you don't. You just get all the privileges.
I do have to explain that there will not be a reduction, and that's what fully retire means, is that you are retiring under an immediate pension with no reduction.
Right.
So I'm always clear when I'm making notes to advisors on that point, because they're like, oh, well, they want to go out, as soon as when they're fully ready. And I'm like, okay, well, this person's, 57 with only 15 years of service. So they can retire, but then there's going to be a reduction. So they're not fully eligible to retire yet because they're not going out with an unreduced pension. And so there's going to be a penalty applied. And that's what it means to be fully eligible to retire. So this person, yes, if you are mentally ready to go with 62 years and or at age 62 with 16 years in service, then go for it. If that's what if you want to do, right? I don't know that I want to retire that young, but everybody's different.
Yep.
If you have something I think the mental part, like there has to be something that you're retiring to. You can't.
Yeah.
So
good.
I don't know if you're financially good to go because I don't know what your pension numbers look like and all of those different pieces of the pie. Social Security. Are you going to take Social Security at 62? Like, financially, I don't know if you're going to be good. Eligibility, yes, you're good for eligibility, but there's other factors that people need to take a look at for retirement that I think are simply missed just because they think I'm this age, I've got this many years in service, I'm good. There's other factors that we have to look at. What are you going to do after retirement? Are you going to start a business? Are you going to, hang out with the grandkids? Like, what is that goal of your free time that you're going to be kind of doing something else? Because I know from experience that there have been several federal employees who separate, and because they have nothing to retire to, they passed away shortly after retirement.
Yep, I've seen that as well. Yep.
I've personally had, I was helping this federal employee and his wife, and he had to take a retirement due to some injuries, and he was a firefighter. And he took an early retirement, but that wasn't something he was mentally prepared for. And so I think within 3 months of actually retiring from service, he had passed away.
Wow.
Because he wasn't mentally ready. Even though he physically couldn't do his job, he didn't look at other avenues either.
Mm-hmm.
As far as transferring an agency or what have you, there are other options. If you're not ready to retire, look at those possibilities. And so I think people need to do more planning when it comes to this. And it's just simply not based on, okay, am I eligible to retire? Sure. Whether you are good to retire financially and mentally are a whole other questions that we can't answer.
Right. And so again,
I
it's
know
really
that was a long explanation. Sorry, Kevin.
no. That you brought up some really, really good points though that people don't, or they either don't think about or take lightly, and we shouldn't take. Okay, it's can you retire? Yes, but again, should you? I mean, we in the last episode we talked about this. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Or, you could have retired 11 years ago. Why didn't you retire 11 years ago at 62 with 5? Because you have, maybe you're working for another company and you have your 401k and you've got all that done. Why did you work so long? And they're like, I don't know. I've had people who just keep working just because they don't know if they can retire. Should they retire? I don't know. Am I mentally ready to retire? Yeah, I could retire, but, I don't know financially if I can. So they just keep working. And so, yeah, it's all over the place. The law says you can. Well, the rules say you can. But should you?
Yeah.
That's another question. Okay. Next question.
All right. How long do I have to live in a blue state? And hold on. How long do I have to live in a blue state to not get Fed taxed? Okay. Explain this one because I think this is something from your webinar that I'm not too familiar with.
Yeah, this is something specific from the webinar. That's right. So I show this slide, this is on part of a slide that I show. And when we talk about pensions getting taxed, I say here, the blue states, you don't get taxed. They won't tax your federal pensions. In the yellow states, they won't tax some or all of your pensions if you fit a narrow band of criteria. And the gray states, you will be taxed. So really the question is, so for example, I'm in Washington. I'm a Washington state, just outside of Portland. But let's say I lived in Portland, Oregon. Let's say I retired at the end of the year. And then I kept living in Oregon for 6 months. And then I moved to Washington. Is my federal pension taxed? What do you think, Cassie?
Well, would a portion of it be taxed? I mean, because part of the time you were living in a state where there was no tax. But, okay, so... Are you a resident of the state? Like, does it matter? Because just because you're living in a state for a time, say I'm living with family or something because I haven't found a place, or, we just moved across the country. We weren't technically residents of Tennessee for like a month after we were here. And so because we didn't have an actual address, like we were waiting to close on our house. And so what does that look like? What are the rules around whether or not you're taxed? I mean, just because you live in a state doesn't mean you're actually technically living there. Right,
exactly. and so it goes by the rules of the state. It goes by how long, I mean, because on the taxes, so in my circumstance, in the, going from Oregon to Washington, in that example, I, typically would say, okay, I lived in Washington half of the year, so I don't have to do state income tax return in Washington because they don't have any state income tax, period. But in Oregon, I have to say that I received money there for 6 months, and so I do have to pay taxes on that, and then the other half I don't. So it really depends on residency laws and were you really living there, or was it a vacation? There's a state, or there's a law either coming, or it was passed in California that says, and I'm going to get this wrong a little bit, but it's something like, if you lived in California and then you moved away, you still owe taxes to California for 10 years. No
Why
joke.
does that not surprise me?
Oh my goodness gracious. So I'd have to look that up and see what that is again, because I read that in a number of places and I was just dumbfounded. So that kind of stretch, it doesn't matter where you live, you're still going to get taxed. And personally, I would be like, come and find me. Go ahead, come and find me. What are you going to do? But that's just me. I don't know how that all works. Okay.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about let's go to the next one here. Does thrift
have a Roth option, or should you go find a private Roth? So is this relating to the TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan? I'm pretty sure it's basically, does TSP have a Roth option, or should you go find a private Roth? Again, I think with everything, it depends, right? That's right.
I mean, because it could be, or it could be, and you have a Roth that, of course there's a Roth option, but maybe you should do an and instead.
Yep. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. First question. Does it have a Roth option? Cassie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Deal. Yeah. That's easy. There's really no exception to I don't think there's any exceptions to that. That's just the way it is, period. One of the few.
There are some limitations with the Roth. Like,
sure,
you can't transfer your traditional to Roth.
Right.
Like, you can't make a Roth happen. You can begin contributing to the Roth account, and that will set up a whole nother account for you in the TSP, but you're always going to have traditional and Roth, even if you're 100% contributing to your Roth from the beginning of your career, because the TSP isn't going to match on the Roth side. If you're contributing 5% to the Roth and that's all you're doing, then the TSP will still match you because you're contributing to the TSP. It doesn't matter traditional or Roth account. They only require you to contribute to TSP, and therefore they will match you. But their contributions to the TSP automatically go to the traditional side. They will not contribute their contributions, their match to the Roth side, even if you're contributing to it.
Right. And basically because they don't want to pay the taxes. They want you to pay the taxes on that, not them. Makes sense.
The government's not going to give you free taxed money. What? Are you serious?
What? I know. It would be nice. But you're right.
Now, if you want to have different buckets of money and you just, TSP is TSP, I want to go find a private Roth, there might be some benefits to having a private Roth account that you can't find in the TSP. Yes. Yep. But that's going to depend on the state. That's going to depend on, a number of different factors on the types of policy that are available to you, and what that looks like if you've got money to go into the Roth or, something to that effect. That's definitely something that you need to talk with a financial advisor about, or for financial planner, as far as that's concerned, because you've got to have somebody that's taking into consideration all of these different buckets of money that you're going to have coming in to find out if a Roth is even a good idea for you. Yeah. Number one. Number two, what private Roth plans are going to fit what you're looking for and what your goals are. Right.
And one thing that I've seen some people do, just to show you, not to show you specifically, but to show everyone listening or watching, different options of what could happen. So you can, 19,000, at least for this year, 19,500 in your TSP. You can do another $6,500 in catch-up contributions, and you get your 5% TSP match. Well, okay, so that's a decent amount of money going in, right? But what if someone is at the end of their career and they say, you know what, I can do more and I'd like to do more. Well, you can get an outside Roth and contribute to that as well. So you can even do more. So, there are strategies like that. Plus they have some of the rules that they have are different. Some of the options they have are different. So you can take advantage of that as well. So that's one of the things that isn't talked about a lot, of mixing the government options with industry standard options as well, and using them in conjunction. Really, I call that the best of both worlds. You can do so much if you can do both of them at the same time, that they offset each other's weaknesses a lot.
And I've seen a lot of times where maybe an employee has a certain need that they can't qualify medically for, that there's different riders on a policy or benefits to a policy. And they're called hybrid policies on the private side, where they can't do those things on the TSP. And so maybe it's beneficial for you to do a private policy just because of the other benefits that plan has, as opposed to, the financial side of it. And so it really depends, though, based on what you need, as far as, and what's available in your state, because there are some definite limitations for certain states on these different plans, though, as well, and what they can offer as far as different benefits. And so I can't tell you and I don't mean you, but the employee, I can't tell the employee whether or not it's going to be a good idea for them. I mean, do you live in California or New York, Florida, Washington, Montana, Ohio? Like, what state do you live in? Right? And I don't even know all the rules for that as far as what's available. Like, that's why you've got to have somebody local, or somebody who knows your state's rules. Right. I shouldn't say somebody local, because not always is somebody who's versed in the federal benefits going to be local, and especially with COVID, like, we're dealing with people all over the place. The important thing is there's, I think, different factors that, if you're looking for a financial advisor to answer this question for you, you've got to think about. 1, are they versed in the federal benefits? 2, do they know your state's rules? Are they licensed to do insurance products or different types of products, variable products, whatever, in your state, right? And 3, are they going to actually be able to help you, or are they just looking for a quick buck? Like, there are some financial advisors out there who are just strictly after, one piece of the pie, and just trying to sell you a product. But there are other advisors who aren't, who are looking for, who are genuinely trying to help you, right? Just get the information that's best for you. And so if you need somebody like that, reach out to us. They're going to give you 2 free meetings. They're going to talk to you about what your benefits are before they even answer the question on whether or not you should have a private plan, because first they have got to figure out the other the other things, right? And so they're going to give you those 2 free meetings. So they're going to give you that consultation, get the information from you, and then they're going to be able to give you that benefits report so they can talk about what your federal benefits are, and then figure out if they even need if you need their assistance or not, and what that looks like moving forward. So if you need somebody, we've got a network of advisors who we trust and we use, and we, help people get in contact with them, because they mark off all of those boxes. They know the federal benefits. We're going to get you somebody who can help you, who's available in your state, who knows the rules and can help you with those different plans. Because if you need continued help, we want to make sure that you can get it. And specifically for these types of questions, right, Kevin?
That's exactly right. Yep, you're spot on. In fact, these as you're talking about that, talking about these financial advisors, planners, whatever we want to call them, you're right. They're not looking to make a quick buck. They want to educate. And if they can give you the information like we are, we're in the same business. We want to educate people and help them with their retirement to make sure that they're doing the right thing for their retirement. So if you would, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more notifications if you're on YouTube, all that good stuff. Other than that, thanks, Cassie, and we will see everyone next time. Take care.
Bye.
To get Cassie's comprehensive report on your federal retirement benefits at no cost, no obligation, and no sales pitch, go to Fednobabble.com. While you're there, submit a question for them to answer on the show.